This is Roland McDevitt. I'm the paddlecraft coordinator for District 5 and the National Division Chief for paddlecraft safety. Tonight, Joy Taguding and I are going to be kind of conducting a town hall, I'd say, to talk about getting ready for AUXPAD Academy. And that's what we call our training to go on the water with AUXPAD afloat. Here in District 5, we have 3 AUXPAD academies every year. Joey heads one up in Northern Virginia. I head one here on the Outer Banks of North Carolina. And Ron Price heads one out close to Annapolis, Maryland. So, and Ron really kind of got us started. He really trained Joey and I both. And I thought what we do tonight is we'll start off with Joey kind of going through at a high level, kind of almost like an intro to AUXPAD afloat. But I thought that might stimulate some questions. And I think it's probably okay to interrupt us. We got a small group here, and if there's things you like to talk about as we go, I think that'd be just fine. So I'm going to turn it over to Joey, and Joey, if you'd kind of walk us through your presentation here.
I will do, Roland. Good evening, everyone. All right, feel free to jump in at any time, folks. The slide you see here, we're all familiar with this. It's a great time to be on the water. It's and that in and of itself has caused an increase in paddlecraft people. Just in these pictures alone, upper left-hand corner, that's my niece and her husband. We were paddling out on the Shenandoah River. The bottom left-hand corner is my sister-in-law. She came in from Portland, Oregon, and we took her out on the water. And my wife is up in the right, upper right-hand picture. We're right behind Columbia Island Marina, actually. So it's a great time to be on the water, but because it's a great time to be on the water, there's a great number of folks that are out there that aren't aware of what they're getting into, what they're doing. A lot of novices, if you will. Between 2010 and 2019, they believe the paddle sports participation has grown by 500,000 million participants, new paddlers each year. So next slide, please, there, Roland. All right. So tonight we're talking about the Academy, and one of the things about the Academy, even though we incorporate the Ashore program, a lot of folks like the sexy side of the AUXPAD program, and that's getting this paddlecraft operator competency, and that's what the afloat program kind of helps us. The Academy helps us do. The afloat, as you can see on the screen, it's an extension of the Ashore outreach. It places qualified AUXPAD operators in direct contact with those folks on the water. And it does this, it promotes paddlecraft safety via a personal example and by demonstration. And what we mean by that is we are wearing the right equipment. We're following the right navigation rules, staying out of the channel, crossing where we need to, signals where appropriate. So a lot of what we're doing on the water is definitely by example. Next slide, if you will, please, Roland. And the afloat program, we can reach a lot of people on the water. All these pictures right here are D5 folks out on the water. The top left, we're right outside of, we're right on the Potomac River. We're right on the Georgetown harbor, and we're reaching out to folks on boats and letting them making them aware that there is a Coast Guard paddlecraft program, making them aware of what they should be looking for when they look for folks in paddlecraft. Upper right-hand corner is our 5-mile paddle that we did with Roland down in Kitty Hawk Harbor last year. Bottom left-hand corner, we're doing the safety border for a kayak regatta in the little town of Occoquan last year. They had a 3-mile course, and we played safety ends for both of them. And then the bottom right-hand corner is Bob Ivy. Bob Ivy approached these folks while we were doing another patrol, and the gentleman on the left had just gotten back out of the water. He did a little dip in the water. I think it was a little warm that day, a little hot, and so we went and approached him and chatted with him. All these are just prime examples of what we can do to interact with the public. All right, moving along, please, Roland. So these are some of the AUXPAD afloat qualifiers in D5 South. Upper left-hand corner is Warren Darrell. I think Warren's online this evening. And he's down in the, oh gosh, I just blew a blank there, Warren.
Wilmington.
Wilmington, thank you. There you go. Thank you. Thank you very much. But Warren used to be up in the Fairfax area, Northern Virginia area. He's now down in the Wilmington, North Carolina. And he was part of the academy that was done down in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. Upper right-hand corner is Roland McDevitt when he was doing academy up here in the DC area. If you want this picturesque this picture, please come up and visit me during the academy or at any time, and we'll see if we can get you out on the water. Bottom left-hand corner is Ron Price. I've been attending Ron Price's academies, and he's been doing those since 2016. So he does it every year. It's the first weekend in June. And there's yours truly in the bottom right-hand corner. They managed to snap a picture of me right when I finished doing the self-rescue demonstration. All right, would you like to go to the next? With the AUXPAD Afloat program, we showed a couple slides ago about interaction. Some of the AUXPAD Afloat operators, Roland McDevitt on the left-hand side, he does this thing with Kitty Hawk Kites. They are a great big rental facility, a livery in the Outer Banks. And so Roland's partnered up with them. He does some vessel safety checks with them. He just finished up 3 days of on the water, a hybrid paddle sports facilitation with some of the staff that's at the livery, and he's teamed up with Kitty Hawk Kites to do this video. If you do a search on a YouTube video for Kitty Hawk Kites top 10 kayak safety tips, and this video runs for about 4.5 minutes, and you can watch it. And Roland runs through some top 10 tips on how to paddle safer. Yours truly in the bottom right-hand corner, I've actually partnered up with what used to be a Sea Scout Ship 25, but they just recently converted over to, they became a flotilla. Flotilla Division 25, Ship 25 is a youth program. But the Aux Scouts have partnered with the auxiliary. And I've run for the last couple of years, me and a couple other folks that are on this call, Guy Campbell, Dan McKinney, we team up and we run these Sea Scouts their paddlecraft training so that they can advance up the ranks of the Sea Scout ranks. Next slide, please. So all this is good in preparation.
Hey, Joey,
yes.
We having a little audio problem. I'm not sure if we got like a bad connection or something.
Is
static?
Am I staticky?
Yeah, that sounds better now.
Can you hear me now? I'll try to hold my head like this, or the TV antenna.
Yeah,
TV antenna, just like just like the old days. All right. Yeah, please let me know, and I'll switch headgear if necessary.
Okay.
So one of the steps that you're going to be doing in preparation for the academy, of course, is making your kayak an OPFAC facility or AUXPAD facility using the Form 7009 and stepping through that process. It's just like a vessel safety check for the public, but it's a vessel safety check for auxiliarists and their vessels. On the left-hand side, you can see a list of or pictures of some of the authorized vessels that are allowed for the program: sit-in tops, sit-in sides, sit on tops, and specifically some fishing vessels. some sit on top, so you use by paddles, and some tandem. You can actually do tandem patrols now, or tandem kayaks for the AUXPAD program. Both operators have to be paddlecraft qualified, though. On the right-hand side, you can see some of the vessels that are not qualified. Those are canoes, stand-up paddles, and inflatables, and rowboats. Those are not allowed for the vessel program. Roland, did you
Hey,
want to
Joey?
cover these in detail, or did you want to move on?
Would you have a question?
Yes.
Yeah, Joey, I have a question. I didn't know that the tandem kayaks were allowed. If we do tandem kayaks, do we still have to have two boats on a patrol, or is one
Yes.
boat with two operators okay?
Two boats. Still need two boats, is my understanding.
Mhm.
All right. That good?
Okay, I'm not positive about that, but good question.
Good question.
We'll check that, and if it's not right, we'll get clarification out.
I write a little note about that. And okay, moving right along. The other thing
Can I ask
that we're
a-
gonna
Would you mind if I ask one question about that? Could, if you, when you mean two boats, can one be a regular motorboat and the other can be a kayak?
that is correct.
Yeah.
One could
Okay,
be. It
thanks.
has to be either law enforcement, Coast Guard, or a auxiliary OPFAC.
Okay, right, thanks.
All right. Very good.
So, Joey, real quick, on the tandem paddlecraft, the other question that we need to clarify is if there's only one operator in the tandem boat, is that allowed?
No, you both folks need to be qualified paddlecraft operators.
No, that's not what I'm asking. That's not what I'm
Okay.
asking. One boat, one operator. No other person on the boat. It's just a tandem boat.
And help me out here, Roland. If you, my interpretation would be that there's two seats and it needs two people.
You know, I'm going to have to go back and look at that, Charles.
Exactly.
Uh, So the other key point on all of this, when we talk about tandem requirements, is if you've got an AUXPAD qualifier, basically an ACA instructor, they can take out a trainee and satisfy the tandem requirement. So that's the exception where you don't really need two qualified AUXPAD operators.
Cool. These are great questions, folks. This
Yep,
is the
yep.
time, the place to ask these things.
Roland, could you repeat what you just said, please?
So a lot of times we train people to become AUXPAD operators, and we send them back to a little town in North Carolina, and they're the only one there. But if they were an AUXPAD qualifier, they could actually take out a trainee with them. So one of the things we're trying to do is encourage people that are interested to become AUXPAD qualifiers. So, pursue the ACA instructor certification, become an AUXPAD qualifier. And that really, really helps us get the program off the ground locally where we don't have multiple operators. But that AUXPAD qualifier could take out a trainee with them and meet the tandem requirement that way.
Thanks. Thank you. Got it.
They're great questions.
Yep.
All right. So what do we got on the screen? We got AUXPAD orders and patrol procedures. All paddlecraft operators are required to be competent in requesting orders, because when we go out on patrol, we are assigned to patrol duty the same way as air patrols or other OPVAC facilities. So we have to be competent in how to request orders and how to complete orders. And these must be, folks must be familiar and able to work through the AUXData 2 process. Hey, any questions about that at this point? Let's move to the next slide, Roland.
Okay.
This slide shows a couple things about operational parameters before you can go on patrol. you actually have to, upper left-hand corner, you have to do some risk assessment. You have to do a GAR. And you actually have to report that to the station when you call into the station. You have to be aware of some of the weather requirements. You can only operate in daylight, sunrise to sunset. Visibility must be greater than 3 nautical miles, winds less than 15 knots, things of that nature. You have to be aware of geography limits. You cannot go beyond half a nautical mile from shore. There's an exception to that rule. You can go beyond 1.5, up to 1.5 if you're accompanied by a powerboat. You have to be aware of fatigue limits. There are a maximum of 6 underway hours per day. And that means that you have to have a 3 hours patrol, 1 hour break, and another 3 hours underway. The mission requirements are, the mission restrictions you can also do ATON verifications. That's demonstrated in the bottom right-hand corner. Like I showed slides, we can do swim events, regattas, triathlons, things of that nature. Big thing is we all also authorized to render aid if there's imminent need for that.
Hey, Joey, I have a question.
Sure.
To do ATON, PATON verification, must we be under orders?
I believe you do, but
So
Roland,
that's
please.
that's a good question. On the one hand, you can basically anyone can go out and report a problem with an ATON or PATON, but you would have to be under orders. That's a
The reason why I'm thinking that you would be is because you'd have to go through your pre-brief check in order to get on the water.
Yeah.
And that means that you would have to do your 30-minute comms, you'd have to give them your GAR, you'd have to give them all those sort of things in order to be a patrol to go and do that. That's just my.
I'm trying to think if I've actually done it where I wasn't under orders, but yeah, I'd say like you want to be under orders. I mean, then you're going to be covered with, liability protection, and you're going to get credit for your time on the water and all that kind of stuff.
In D7, the answer is yes, you have to be under orders to do an ATON verification mission.
Yeah.
I've got a question. In
Yeah.
boat crew, travel time counts half, not 100%. Why is it different for AUXPAD?
It's the same.
It's half?
Yes. So I think in the example that Joey gave, you wouldn't be able to spend 6 hours on the water if you were counting some of your travel time.
Right.
If you were reporting that. So it's basically the same as boat crew.
Thank you. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
We're moving on.
Oh, I think I
Very good.
skipped a couple of things.
You're fine, Roland. It's all good. You're back
Okay.
at the communications. Couple slides. There you go.
Okay, here we go.
And every paddlecraft operator must carry a VHF radio and establish a radio guard with either a Coast Guard unit, another auxiliary vessel facility, or auxiliary shore or mobile radio facility. And comms check recommended every 30 minutes, but it depends on your station. Your station may want you to call in every hour on the cell phone, but you definitely need a communication guard set up. All right. Any questions about that? Comments? And we should be having a seminar coming up with that in the next couple of weeks. I don't have a specific date or time right at this point.
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
Let's go forward. All right. Yours truly on this thing. And the reason why we posted up there is because everybody carries a lot of stuff. And highlighted in yellow, no inflatables and no hybrids. Must be inherently or permanently buoyant jacket. In this upper right-hand corner, the red square, minimum required thermal protection must be worn or available for donning, for putting on while you're underway. So we all know that we're just swimmers in between swims. At some point, we're going to end up in the water. And this little box on the right-hand side gives guidelines as to what your thermal protection or your uniform should be, given the air and water temperatures. All
And
right?
I'd like to clarify, for us coastal kayakers, it seems kind of odd to have neoprene that you're putting on while underway. But what this really reflects is an effort to be more inclusive and realistic about some of the inland waters that people kayak on. So we've got river kayakers in the summer that are on cold water, but it's 95 degrees outside. So this is an attempt to accommodate some of those situations. So it may not, for a coastal kayaker, you're probably not going to be donning your neoprene while you're underway.
Probably not. Questions or comments, further discussion for this, folks? Hearing nothing, let's move on. Right, next slide, please. There you go. All right, so this slide, we're going to talk about the training that's provided, the AUXPAD Operator Academy. There's been a change in the handbook. The requalification requirements is every 3 years now. So once you become qualified, it's going to be every 3 years that you have to go through the exercise. You can see the dates and times there that we're going to be doing it in D5 South. And any questions about this? We'll get into some of the weeds about what happens at each of the academies. And if you're interested in partaking in any of the academies in D5 South, you see some contact information on the screen there. All right, let's move
The
to
other
the
thing I'd
next slide.
say, if there's anybody that's not on our email list, and you want to be on the email list, let us know so that we can do that. Send me an email to Roland.
No
McDevitt.
training in Florida.
Charles, is there anything scheduled in Florida? I think maybe Charles is muted, but I'm thinking.
Muted, Charles.
I'm sorry. There's nothing on the schedule as of yet. There has been training in the past. We currently have 12 operators that are qualified as paddlecraft operators. So I'm hoping to hold a couple of academies this year. And there will be seminars and hopefully a paddle sports facilitator class at our D-Train in September.
Thank you.
I'm in District 8 CR and our OTO is talking about funding to get someone to be a qualified examiner. So we really don't know how to do it.
So if you're looking for sort of guidance on what we've done here in D5, we're happy to talk with you or your OTO. And probably the important thing, key thing is going to be hooking up with a good instructor trainer that can work with one or more people in your district.
That sounds like a good idea. We need to figure out how to get that done.
Yeah, if you want to give me a call, we can talk about that, and I'm sure we can find somebody.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right, next slide, please. So I don't know if you can all see this, but this is a typical agenda for our training, and Roland's going to cover that in detail in a few minutes. But we do it in D5 South. We do this academy training in about 2 and
your club get together? 4:30.
Yes.
I think we've got somebody. I'm going to go ahead and mute. Okay, let's try that.
Okay, so as you can see on the screen, D5 South, it's about 2.5 days of training. The color blue, it gives you the days that the training's being held: Friday, Saturday, and a half day Sunday. The green, what we like to do in D5 South is we like to have our trainees participate and do little presentations, because they're going to be speaking about different topics, and they have to be knowledgeable about some of the equipment, some of the lessons learned, things of that nature. The yellows indicate what we're going to be doing on the water. It's learning the strokes, learning self-rescue, assisting others. Then on Sunday, we do one big review on Sunday, figure 8.
And just to comment about the green, I think we've got a lot of talent in the people that come to training. We've had retired Coast Guard people, and it's amazing when you start having people do contributions to the presentations, what you get out of that.
Very much so. All right. If you look at the handbook, there's a new handbook, and the appendix for the PQS is of course in the handbook. In D5 South, we're adapting to this new PQS, and we're going to modify our existing PQS that we've used over the last couple of years to more embrace what is written in the handbook. So you may see some things in the next couple of slides don't exactly match up, but we're working on making those changes right now. So that's that slide. Let's move to the next one if you.
And Joey, again, one thing I'd emphasize there is, for the most part, for coastal kayaking, things haven't really changed that much. But the way the handbook is written, it's trying to be more functional and written in a way that's inclusive of river kayaking, so that it might look a little different in the way the PQS is written, but from a functional standpoint, it's still very similar for those of us in the coastal kayak world.
Most definitely. And there are the assessors are for your PQS. They can be an AUXPAD qualifier, an AQ. They can be a qualification examiner, a QE, or a coxswain for some of the stuff that you need for, like, boat crew for part of the PQS. For the kayaking skill sets, it can be an AUXPAD qualifier or an ACA instructor trainer, or instructor trainer educator.
Are you in the meeting?
All right.
Look at those.
So this
Everybody,
Those are different.
I'm going to ask everybody.
Maybe it's too far away by the time I look.
They are different.
Going to ask
Could be
everybody.
an A10.
Somebody needs to mute their.
It doesn't.
Their
It doesn't. They're
okay.
different. They're very
All right.
different.
Mike Fitzgerald, please mute your mic.
Okay, Charles, thank you.
Yep. Good man.
Okay.
All right, so the PQS on the screen, like I said, is a little outdated, and we're working to change it. In the middle of the screen, you can see that we've highlighted a few boxes, because even though we have updated the certification requirements for becoming a paddlecraft operator, there are still some things that in D5 South we have to meet that are on a different requalification cycle, such as your TCT refresher, which needs to be done every 15 months, your surface operations workshop that's required in D5 South. We have to do that annually. And the NAV Rules 95, folks have to do that every 5 years. Otherwise, their competency will expire for becoming a paddlecraft operator. All right, let's go to the next slide.
Yep.
There again, this PQS shows or identifies the strokes that you're going to be learning during the Academy session, and that's shown on the left-hand side: lifting your kayak and doing sweeps, doing forward strokes, reverse, ruddering, things of that nature. On the bottom right-hand corner is the figure 8 routine that we do, which incorporates all these strokes, and that's done usually on the last day. I'm going to go to the next slide, please.
Yep.
Also in this PQS, you have to know a little bit more about the wet exit and the swim rescue, a little bit about self rescues, assisted rescues, and have some technical knowledge, which is why we have trainee participation in some of the equipment you'll be using, some of the conditions that you'll be meeting and embracing, like the cold water shock, hyperthermia versus hyperthermia, and some of the environmental issues that you'll be encountering. All right, you want to move to the last?
Oh, sorry. Oh,
Nope, that's fine. You're good.
I don't know how many, I'm going the wrong way. Sorry about
That's okay. All right, go to the next. There you go. And on the on the old PQS, it walks you through a process, and through that process, when you did the local academy, you had your local AUXPAD qualifier run you through the paces, and they would sign off on meeting the boat crew and ACA skill set. And the AQ, your local AQ, would then summarize everything, fill out the form, and send it to our paddlecraft coordinator in D5 South, who happens to be Roland McDevitt. Roland would look over the entire package for that individual, make sure it was up to snuff. He would sign it, endorse it, and then he would forward it on to John Murphy, our OTO in D5 South, for final signature, final endorsement.
Yep.
And that was our process through D5 South. Roland, additional comments?
Yeah, and so the intent here is to make sure that we're doing the work and they're not doing the work on checking all this stuff, and that basically they're not at this point. They're not looking for all this detail, you know, of all the line items that we just reviewed. They're looking just for a sign off that we've verified all of these things are completed. So I don't know how it works in other districts, but that's kind of what makes our OTO happy.
Did you want to cover this slide, or did you want to jump into what you wanted to do there, Roland? Or
Let me see if I can bring up my my other document here.
while you're doing that, one of the questions that was posed to me, I don't know if Joe Hostetter's on this call, but one of the questions that Joe posed to me earlier this week was he has a sit on top fishing kayak. It is a pedal kayak. And one of the questions he asked me is, do I need a separate spare paddle for such a kayak? And I said, I don't know. We're going to talk about it, review it. But he has a pedal kayak. He has his main paddle. And Roland, what's your observation or words of wisdom on that aspect?
I wouldn't think you'd need two paddles, but I'm not a Hobie guy, so I guess I'd like to hear somebody's opinion about that from somebody who's a Hobie paddler. You definitely don't want to be without a paddle, I would say. I've had that experience, and it's not a happy one. But it seems in effect you do have your spare. I mean, you've got your if your Hobie flippers are going to work unless you're in less than about 3 inches of water. So I think you're good there, and your spare paddle would be kind of for if that's not working, I think. So I think you're okay with one paddle.
So Roland, I'm in my personal opinion, and I've inspected a lot of powered facilities, and there is a block on the powered facility for a spare paddle, but that spare paddle, just like our spare paddle, is a secondary form of propulsion. So if the Hobie, your C drive, your pedal drive is your primary form of propulsion, the paddle that you carry, that's your secondary. And I wouldn't see the need for a tertiary or a third means or another paddle. It just seems like and again, this is personal opinion, it just seems like a little bit of overkill. We've already got the second paddle or secondary means of propulsion, which is the paddle. So in my opinion, I don't see the need for a two paddles with a pedal drive.
I would agree with that. And I also think that there's an issue that we kind of run into as paddlers of having just too much gear. too many things to manage, too much stuff to strap on and fall in the water. So, you know, there's kind of a downside to having too much. So this is kind of getting into the weeds, but if you're going to one of our AUXPAD academies in District 5, these are kind of some of the details. So we've got a lot of this is summarized on our local flotilla website here. If you Google Outer Banks Flotilla, we've got a lot of resources. There are our numbers 054-1607. So we've got a lot of information, not only about the AUXPAD Academy, but videos, training resources, just good stuff that helps you be a better paddler and, you know, help you get ready for the AUXPAD training. We like to get people committed ahead and registered so that we know if they're coming. In some cases, like here on the Outer Banks, it's kind of not close to where anybody lives, so we're trying to help with housing, and that's important for me to have some lead time so that I can arrange that and know how much we're committing to. The shirts, in the past, I've been kind of buying those and storing them in my closet and selling them. We have a breakthrough now where those are now available through a vendor called Sign Explosion. You can get this link off of our website or off of our national website, but they're actually printing these to order. So it takes 2 or 3 weeks to get the shirt through them. But you can get, you know, exactly what you want when you want it if you have a little bit of lead time. So encourage people to take advantage of that. We talked about the qualification standards. Basically, the prerequisites are to come to training. You need to be basically qualified. If you're in approval pending status, you need to have your core training complete. Really encourage everybody to look at the AUXPAD handbook that's posted on our national website and on our local flotilla website. It's got a lot of good information in there, including the PQS, you know, all the things you have to do to qualify as an AUXPAD operator or qualification or AUXPAD examiner. It also has the information about required items that you need to have on your OPFAC. A lot of some things that Joy's going through have been updated. So I think it's a big improvement over what we had before. And you know, it's really worth taking a look at that. And it also might be worth having a conversation with your OTO if they haven't had a look at it, so that they understand what's in the new handbook. And one of the big changes there, and I think it's going to really help us grow the program, is that it's a 3-year qualification now. So I'm hoping that in the past, we've done a lot of training and we haven't been able to get people on the water because we weren't meeting the tandem requirement. But if we can train a few more people and instead of sending them to training every year, get them out doing more missions, I think that that's going to be very helpful. So this is information on how to get your OPFAC approved. So you basically go through a vessel examiner and request an exam. It involves taking a picture of your OPFAC and having it all uploaded for approval, but that's important to get that done before you go to training. Some of us have additional OPFACs that we can use in training, but it's always helpful if people have their own that they can bring them along. So we've been doing quite a bit of Zoom training, and over the next month or so, we're going to have some additional training on communications. Scott Cispaniak is going to do a session on basically using the marine radio and how to use it on a patrol. We're also having one on what's the other one, Joey? On the navigation.
Navigation, yep.
Navigation for kayakers.
Yep.
And so, you know, even if you understand navigation pretty well, it's a little bit different on a kayak, and I think that's a pretty good opportunity to get some exposure to that content. We're also going to do one on administrative procedures, basically how to do things in AUX data, how to request a patrol, how to close out a patrol, you know, how to record your time, all of that. So ACA membership is not required at this point. They are our partner in this, and really encourage people to be members. It costs $40 a year. They provide the course curriculum. They're the ones that are training our instructors. We really do have a very strong partnership with them, and they're starting, I think, to do a much better job as we are of basic education to recreational paddlers. And Andrea White is heading up a new it's called Regional Activities Council. It's basically it's an effort to really engage the state directors of the ACA in safety outreach and training to beginning paddlers. And we're partnering with them here in North Carolina. We're doing training at 11 state parks. And I think that kind of thing is really going to help us leverage our presence in the community. So it's not just the Coast Guard out there promoting safety, but we're going out there with ACA instructors in all of these state parks, and we're getting to know the state park rangers. It's really a great way to sort of network in the paddling community. And so I think we need to really take our ACA partnership seriously, and, you know, try to find ways to work with them. So that's kind of all the information on kind of what you need to get ready for training. If you're coming to one of our 3 locations, it's important to let us know and start talking to us about where you stand. You know, if you have what you need to come to training, if you have your gear, your kayak, if you have the, you know, maybe if you're a boat crew, you know, something like that, you'll have a lot of these things already taken care of, and you can just focus a lot on the kayaking skills. Okay, well, I'm hoping that we have some questions here.
Yeah, this is Mike. I think you mentioned it early on your document here. Since, you know, in North Florida is where I'm at for Flotilla 14-7. Since you know, they're looking at setting something up, we don't have anything yet. Is there something that we could start working on in preparation for either, I think you mentioned different levels, like an assistant instructor to instructor?
Well, in terms of training people to go on the water, we need to have ACA instructor needs to be involved one way or another, either as an AUXPAD qualifier or directly through the ACA. There are a lot of things that we can do in paddlecraft safety outreach that are not on the water, you know, so vessel examiners and public affairs people can do that. And we've got quite a lot of good resources now that are available that we've been working on in the national team. So if you got some people that want to do that, a shore activity, there's good resources there. If you're looking to go on the water, we need to find ways to get an ACA instructor involved.
Okay.
Yeah. And another thing you can do, I mean, if somebody wants to travel, to another district, you're more than welcome to do that. I mean, we can certainly train the ACA skills, for anybody that wants to travel here.
Mike, I have a question.
Yeah.
So this is Don Rice. It's about the AUXPAD uniform. What do you recommend the uniform when you're doing a shore outreach?
So we are, the orange shirt is approved for a shore outreach. And either a baseball hat or the Tilly hat, navy shorts or dark shorts. So I think, we are not trying to come across looking like law enforcement. I mean, we're very much kind of oriented towards looking like paddlers and being approachable. So I think those are all good. You can also wear an alternative work polo or the vessel examiner polo.
Okay.
Doing vessel exams.
And what about footwear? With boat shoes or black shoes or either of those? Okay.
Yep. So when we're on the water, I'm usually wearing, neoprene.
Right.
Booties. Off the water, I would wear dark shoes, deck shoes or polo shoes.
Okay.
Or tennis shoes.
I have
So
another.
kind of in answer to that question, Don, yeah, the orange AUXPAD shirt, fine, ball cap or telly hat, the 511 tactical ripstop, the shorts are 1 inch above the knee, or at least that's where they fall on me. And the hot weather uniform is authorized, and that's part of the hot weather uniform. So AUXPAD shirt is with a telly hat or a ball cap, and the rest of the hot weather uniform.
I would lean towards the AUXPAD uniform with the shore, and I've actually been approached several times. We do this patrol out of Columbia Island Marina, right next to the Pentagon, and the REI runs a program where they do tours out there. And they see us in our bright orange and they associate the auxiliary, and quite often they invite us to speak to their tour group because they've noticed the bright orange and what are these bunch of orange folks in orange shirts doing. And they invite us, we talk to the group, we hand out decals and just give a little spiel about paddlecraft safety. It attracts attention and it doesn't intimidate. It lets people know that we are part of the paddlecraft and we wear this for a reason, and that's to be seen. If they saw us on land, it gets greater visibility on the water. So that definitely says something.
Right. Exactly. And here in Florida, the reason why I mentioned those 511 tactical ripstop shorts, if you're going to be purchasing the hot weather uniform anyways, those are the shorts that you're going to be wearing, purchasing, and they're perfectly fine for paddling in too. I mean, because they are ripstop material, they're not a cotton, so they wick pretty well. Yeah, so if you're going to be buying the hot weather uniform anyways, it's perfectly fine to wear with the AUXPAD uniform.
Yeah.
I have one other, it's not really a question, but a comment, I guess. Don and I recently have been experiencing trying to get the facility decal. And it seems like our DIROCs didn't know exactly how to deal with that because they've never had anyone request that. If you're on the national level, I would like to see or suggest that something be written so that people know down the road. Thank goodness Charles was able to fix that through the people he knows. But God forbid, if something happens to Charles, I don't know what Donna and I would do. We'd still be waiting for AUXPAD operator status, I think. We have just had a really tough time in trying to get anything through DIROX. And I don't know if it's just our district or what is going on, but I don't know. They're going to mail our facility decals to us. Does that go to our home address? Does that go to the flotilla? Does that go to the division? Where do those things go, and how do we ever get them so that we can put them on our kayaks? Anyway, it's an issue, and I hope that at some point in the future there can be some written procedure or
Well, it
policy.
is. So the handbook does indicate that we have to have the decal on the OPFAC. So, I mean, in terms of policy, I think the policy is clear. How DIROX gets it into your hands, I think, is sort of a district level issue.
Okay.
Yeah, it was kind of growing pains here in D7 since we've only had 3 facilities authorized since we started, and the folks that were working for DIROX didn't really know how to do it. I called them, got it straightened out. The decals are going to be mailed to the home address of the facility owner as it appears in AUX Data 2.
Yeah, I've had the experience here where sometimes they think that we've got decals kind of floating around the flotilla, and if we need them, that we should put a special note in, like, to send it to us. And then I've had decals turn up that were floating around the flotilla. So it's a little bit, you may have to put a note in or talk to somebody. I mean, it's, and then we have different OTOs that, they switch every couple of years. So it's something that's a moving target, I'd say.
Do the decals have a facility number on them?
No.
No, they don't.
And they're just like the decals that go on other OPFACs, on the boats.
Yeah, we were trying at first to get them to issue the smaller decals, like go on the PWCs, but apparently they're no longer supplying those, so they're all one size now.
And I think we've had some kayaks where, because of the design of the kayak, you almost kind of had to put it on the deck. There just wasn't very much freeboard on the side to be able to apply it to the side. Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, I'd like to, thank you for sharing all this information. I've been kayaking for years. I paddleboard too. And last weekend I was telling Charles, I was in the intercoastal, and the 30 people that I saw, I think only one was wearing their flotation device. And it just blows my mind. They're having a good time, but nobody's thinking about safety. So that's why I want to, get involved with, educating people.
Roland, is anyone from D1 on this call? I don't see Mike or.
I don't see anybody here from D1.
Because what is it? The state has now made it mandatory that you must wear your jacket when you're in the paddlecraft.
And Rhode Island has a new state law requiring it. I think another thing that's interesting, I actually cut out some statistics from the beginning of Joey's presentation, but Robin Pope has put some excellent numbers together that talks about how critical it is with paddlecraft in particular, that almost all of something like 90% of the deaths involve drownings with paddlecraft, and it's basically capsize or leaving the vessel, and then you look for drownings. Very few people who drown are wearing their life jacket. So, it's a pretty compelling story in general, but particularly for paddlecraft, because those are the kinds of accidents that people are having.
Hey, Roland, I think Kelly has her hand up.
Okay, Kelly?
Yeah, I just wanted to suggest for footwear, Astral Lokis are amazing shoes for paddling. They basically look kind of like a street shoe, but they have drain holes in them. So they have, a decently hard sole where you could wear them throughout the day and still be comfortable.
So you can go ashore, you can go on the water and be good. either-
Exactly.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
And then they do come with shoelaces, which I don't like shoelaces on a sit inside kayak because they could become an entrapment hazard. So I replace them with like elastic shoelaces. They're called hickeys, just like, a hickey. But they work really well and they stay on your feet well too in the surf.
Okay.
What's the name of that shoe again, please?
It's Astral. That's the name brand. And then it's Loki.
LoWkey?
I think it's Loyke. I'll put a link in the chat.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, Roland, if people were to travel to Kill Devil or up to Annapolis, are there kayaks available if we don't want to drag our own kayak all the way up there?
So I have a number of kayaks, sea kayaks that I can share. If we got like demand that exceeds my capacity, we could probably find another way to deal with that. But yeah, we could do that.
Anything high volume for us big boys?
I've got something pretty high volume. Yeah, it's I'm drawing a blank right now, but it's a British it's a serious sea kayak, but it's just kind of a high volume. So it's it's pretty good for that.
All right, folks, you heard it there. I mean, if anybody from D7, contact Roland and see if he's got space or gear available for you if you want to travel up. But make sure you give him plenty of notice before you think about doing that. And it might be more appropriate for folks that are in the northern part of D7. I know from Jacksonville, it's a 9.5, almost 10-hour drive. So think about that first.
So one thing in my experience, we've had some folks that, if they have trouble with sit inside kayaks, either because of their size or limited, they may have problems with their knees or hips or something of that nature, that they've been able to get qualified on sit on tops. And we've had one fellow in particular who was really out there doing a lot of patrols. It really worked for him. Okay. Well, we are at 7:58. That is our goal, to be at 1 hour. So if there's no more questions, we will go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Roland, is it possible that I could talk to you after everybody closes about
Of
the
course. Sure.
academy?
Thank you.